I think being an author is, I think, a lot of people's dreams. I think if you've got something to say, a lot of people want to get it down, and I really believe that. Like one of my core values, if you have something to say, you should write it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I always wanted to kind of, there was something about children's literature and growing up. I wasn't actually a big reader.
Yeah.
I really struggled with reading. I was a late developer when it came to reading, but I loved books which had big pictures and I could kind of tell the story as I was going, and that really helped my development because I had the illustrations alongside the words, and then as I learned the words, the story would make sense. And I had sort of always kind of wanted to do it. I dreams and aspirations of being like a David Walliams one day, who knows, but this particular, like Yarrow and the Rhino, which we'll
that's the name of the book.
Get on shoulders, little plug. But this one in particular, it just kind of was stuck in my head. And eventually I got there, but I've always kind of wanted to break into the children's literature because I think it's about the development, and it's about where now I think it's a bit sad, but we see so many kids who are just watching TV the whole time and struggling with development because they're on their phones, and it's hard because parents are very busy. We live in a world that doesn't afford a lot of time or luxury to reading. But reading is so important for development and reflection, and being able to see stories and adventures and completely escape into those worlds.
Exactly.
I always wanted to be part of that because I think it was such a big part of my life growing up.
There is a big genre for children's books because I talk to a lot of people every day when I'm promoting my book, and basically some people sort of don't have time to read, but they've got time to read children's books. You see, and so they say, is it for a child? So there is a big genre for children's books, and the thing that's different about this is it is about being in a different country, and children will be able to learn a lot from that instead of just reading the basic books, which are still good, they're educational, they're learning without even realizing they're learning, but this is just different because you've actually lived in that country and you're sharing a little bit about is it about your experience, and
well, I mean, it's sort of funny you say that. So Yarrow and the Rhino, just give sort of your listeners a bit of a taste of what it's about. It's a very short story. It's kind of aimed at like 7 to 11-year-olds. But to be honest, most of the people who I've seen reading it are also a lot younger because the pictures are great. The illustrations,
definitely,
which we can't show your listeners, but the illustrations are fantastic.
Yes,
they did such a good job. And this one in particular, so I was on safari, like this would have been 2019 or just early 2020, just before the pandemic, and I was on safari with my grandmother and my father, both sadly who have passed now, and it was such a beautiful safari. Like it was just perfect in every way. You'd wake up, the birds were chirping, the monkeys were being seriously naughty, like don't leave your biscuits outside, they come in your tent and steal things. And we were in an area of Kenya, northern Kenya, called Samburu, and they had just had terrible floods, and they're sort of recovering from the floods, but the wildlife hadn't quite recovered. But everything was beautiful. It was lush. It was green.
Fresh.
It was absolutely fantastic. And we were out there with the elephants, and I was just sort of, I think we were on a game drive one evening, and the local tribe there are called the Samburu, just after the area, and they're a bit of a nomadic tribe. They have incredibly long-standing traditions. And it is changing, times change, but they have amazing jewelry. The women wear incredible jewelry, and it's sort of it has significance and meaning and identifies you. You could find out what family they're from, who they're married to, what ancestry come just from their jewelry. It's all an identifier. And then you've got these warriors. So the warrior trend is really big in sort of the Samburu tribe, and you would start as a young boy and your aspiration would become to be a warrior. So I got this idea about like a young Samburu boy, and it just kind of stuck in my head. It kept bouncing around, and then there was like a rhino, and I was like, well, I've got a huge passion for conservation anyway, and I was just thinking about this story, and I was like, wouldn't it be lovely if there was like a little story about a boy who goes and he makes friends with an animal, and there's not that conflict, because the human wildlife conflict is a really big problem. It's one of the worst challenges that we face today when it comes to conservation of animals. And it just bounced around in my head, and I came back to